president launched an active war claiming Iran was within 2 weeks of having a weapon. So when you say two very different things, the American people don't know who to believe or what to believe. They just know they can't afford their health care, they can't afford their food, they can't afford housing, and our farmers are continuing to suffer. So you are asking for unlimited money for bombs when people can't feed their families. And I don't know how this administration intends to defend those decisions to the American people.
Pete Hegseth was left completely dumbfounded after Senator Gillibrand silenced him with one brutal question on the Senate floor. The man was standing there looking like a confused deer watching a tractor beam. Unbelievable. Look, I just watched this Senate hearing and I need a second because the sheer unadulterated absurdity of what went down here is off the charts. While working families across this country are literally sweating over their grocery bills, trying to figure out how to pay rent or keep their health care, Washington is casually trying to hand over a massive blank check for more military operations.
Gillibrand.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Secretary Hegseth, you're requesting billions of dollars in supplemental funding for a war that you said would last for weeks and that the president has no plan or ability to end. At the same time, this still unauthorized and extremely unpopular war has caused gas, diesel, fertilizer, and other essentials that New Yorkers and our farmers need across the country and has become much more expensive. So how do I go back to New York, and what would you say to them who are seeing their health care bills rise because massive cuts to Medicaid? They've seen their grocery and gas bills rise, and this unpopular and unauthorized war abroad is a higher priority to this administration than their ability to feed their families and provide health care to their loved ones who are sick.
Well, Senator, you're talking about political trade-offs, and our job is to deliver for the United States military and the President of the United States. And we look at the cost of a nuclear Iran, and we want to prevent that for future generations. And that requires funding and supplementals and this budget and next-generation capabilities. And that's why we're here today to request some of that to ensure we can ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon.
So you're essentially saying you're asking for literally $1.5 trillion for a war that President Trump said he already won. You're asking for $1.5 trillion, unlimited money for bombs, but insufficient money in for the American people for their health care, their food, their housing, and our farmers, Secretary Rollins, who we have cut SNAP program. We are not funding the losses from emergencies that have happened in blue states, particularly when we had frost.
That's not true.
False, you're not funding it. But back to you, Secretary Hegseth.
And I would like to respond to the fertilizer and the gas.
Have your chance, Secretary Hegseth.
There's no reason to be rude.
You are asking for unlimited money for bombs when people can't feed their families. And I don't know how this administration intends to defend those decisions to the American people.
Not unlimited bombs, Senator. I'm asking for the right bombs at the right time to ensure we can deter our adversaries into the future. And that's how this is a generational investment. And it was the previous administration that didn't fund this department.
The reason why they are so upset with you and this administration is because the words you have used in the past don't add up. About Iran specifically, you said that we had obliterated, quote unquote, Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. The president made the same claim. Yet 8 months later, in February of 2026, the president launched an active war claiming Iran was within 2 weeks of having a weapon. So when you say two very different things, the American people don't know who to believe or what to believe. They just know they can't afford their health care, they can't afford their food, they can't afford housing, and our farmers are continuing to suffer. So, which is true? Was it obliterated or wasn't it? What's the status?
The nuclear sites under Midnight Hammer were obliterated, but Iranians foolishly continued to attempt to pursue nuclear capabilities, which is why we destroyed their defense industrial base and so many of the other capabilities to ensure they can't get to a nuclear weapon. See, we're staying laser focused on the objective, and you're trying to make campaign commercials.
No, we're not.
And that's fine.
So listen to this. You also say that you made the missile program, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective, quote, Iran's entire ballistic missile production capacity, every company that builds every component of those missiles has been functionally defeated and destroyed, and that the missile program, existing stockpiles were depleted and decimated, almost completely ineffective. So why are there missiles left to hit Jordan and result in the loss of life of our brave men and women?
As we stated from the beginning, the Iranian defense industrial base is effectively gone. But they do have underground facilities because they're the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, and they've spent 47 years trying to hide their missiles under mountains, just like their nuclear capabilities, because they would like to get a nuclear weapon to wield it against us.
Of the war to believe, because it's either over or it's not over. It's within 2 weeks or it's not 2 weeks. We have no missiles or we have missiles, and that consternation is why so many New Yorkers are perplexed, stressed out, and find this war to be incredibly unpopular because they don't understand the choices that the president's making. They don't agree with those choices. Secretary Rollins, so you have cut over 160,000 New Yorkers have been kicked off SNAP. What do you have against hardworking New Yorkers, children who need SNAP, and seniors who need SNAP?
Well, first of all, diesel is down under Biden versus today, 581 versus 480. Gas is down from Biden today from 484 to 386 today. Fertilizer is down 56% from Biden highs.
Prices
this
are
narrative
higher than
that
when you took
using,
office.
Well,
all of those prices are higher than when you took office. So you're not
that
making
is
life
not
better
true.
for
That
New York
is not
farmers.
true, Senator. And let me tell you what New York is stressed out about is the fact that your state is taking prime farmland and turning it into solar farms. That is absolutely inexcusable.
For you to stay, you will see
I have visited the New York farmers two times in upstate New York.
Has expired.
So the hearing opens and Gillibrand just goes straight for the throat on the numbers. The administration is asking for billions in supplemental funding, with chatter about the costs ballooning up toward $1.5 trillion for a war that they originally promised was only going to last a couple of weeks. A few weeks. Wait, are they kidding me? And here's where the narrative completely falls apart. Earlier, this exact administration was out here boasting that the conflict was basically won. Done. Mission accomplished. So Gillibrand looks right at Hegseth and asks the most obvious question on earth. If we already won, why are you asking for another $1.5 trillion? Hegseth stumbles around and calls it a generational investment to keep Iran from getting nuclear weapons. A generational investment? Seriously? When working class people are told there's no money for local farms, no money for health care, no money for basic infrastructure, but you somehow manufacture $1 trillion for defense contractors overnight? That is not an investment. That's a daylight robbery of the public trust. It gets even worse when you look at the fallout back home. Gillibrand brought the receipts, showing how this conflict is directly driving up the price of gas, diesel, fertilizer, and basic food. Our farmers are getting crushed by these supply chain shocks. And then she calls out the outright double talk. She reminds Hegseth that the administration explicitly claimed Iran's nuclear capabilities were completely obliterated. Yet, just months later, they're launching new strikes claiming Iran was somehow suddenly 2 weeks away from a weapon. So which one is it? Were they obliterated or were they 2 weeks away? You could literally watch Hegseth try to hold those two completely contradictory facts in his head at the same time. His brain was practically short-circuiting, and when he realized the obliterated story wasn't working, he pivots. He starts talking about how Iran has these deep underground mountain bunkers built over decades, so their missile program is still alive. Wow. Think about what he's actually admitting there. He's admitting that these endless multi-billion-dollar airstrikes don't even fix the problem, which means this is just a permanent money pit. We are being asked to fund an endless cycle of aggressive, highly expensive military actions that achieve nothing except enriching defense contractors while the world gets more dangerous. This is where my blood actually boils. After pressing defense, Gillibrand turns to Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins to ask about domestic cuts, specifically why over 160,000 New Yorkers, low-income families, children, and elderly citizens were kicked off the SNAP program. Just. Pause and look at that contrast. It is sickening. On one side of the room, you have a defense secretary asking for unlimited billions for missiles. On the other side, you have working families and seniors having their food assistance ripped away from them. And what does Secretary Rollins do? She tries to defend it by saying fuel prices dropped a bit from their record highs, and then, I am not making this up, She tries to blame solar farms on agricultural land. Blaming solar panels? Are you serious? Solar panels didn't kick 160,000 hungry people off food stamps. Policy choices did. At the end of the day, this whole exchange laid bare everything that is broken about regressive politics in Washington. You have everyday people struggling just to get by, and you have out-of-touch officials treating trillion-dollar defense budgets like loose pocket change while pinching pennies on human survival. Gillibrand did what every single politician in Washington should be doing every single day. She cut through the corporate PR, refused to let them dodge, and asked the direct, common-sense questions that working people are screaming from their living rooms. What did you think of Hegseth's total non-answers? Do you think our budget priorities are completely upside down? Drop a comment down below, let me know how angry this makes you, and don't forget to like and subscribe before you go. I'll talk to you next time.